There we are. Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the Henry County Zoning Advisory Board meeting tonight, March 14, 2024. I would like to advise all that this meeting is being broadcast live on Spectrum Channel 180 and on Henry County website. For anyone wishing to speak tonight, a total of 10 minutes will be allowed for anyone wishing to speak in favor and 10 minutes for anyone in opposition of an agenda item. For example, if 10 people wish to speak, they must share the 10-minute slot. For tonight's associated cases that are being presented, a total of 20 minutes will be allowed for anyone wishing to speak in favor and 20 minutes for anyone in opposition of the agenda item. And there are 2 associated cases on tonight's agenda. We will now hear the invocation by Mrs. Randolph.
Thank you all for coming today and participating in our meeting as we deliberate over these items. As I drove through from my home in Stockbridge down here to Henry County today, I thought about all the opportunity that we are trying to create for each other in our lives and in our homes and in our businesses. So I appreciate everyone coming today. Thank you for giving us the ability to travel, to have a conversation, and to make decisions that affect our lives and the future of Henry County. Now we'll pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Randolph. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
To accept the agenda.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries unanimous. Staff, do we have any comments?
Yes, sir. We actually have about 4 withdrawn cases. That's RZ 2311, Comp AM 2306, RZ 2222, and CU 2208. So those cases have been postponed by the applicant or withdrawn by the applicant completely.
Okay. Any further comments, staff?
No, sir.
Okay, if not, we'd like to call the first case, please.
Comp Plan Amendment. My apologies. ULDC AM 2401, an ordinance by Terry Lynn Woodall of Stockbridge, Georgia, to amend Chapter 7 of the Unified Land Development Code of the Henry County Code of Ordinance regarding the regulation of front yard fences. Countywide, presented by Kent Lanham, Planner 3.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County.
Good evening.
The item before you is for a request to change the Unified Land Development Code and how it regulates front yard fences. This request, if approved by the Board of Commissioners, would be in effect for countywide. The Chapter 7, Section 70204 of the ULDC provides the code sections for fences and states that front yard fences are prohibited for properties within subdivisions that are not zoned RA residential agricultural. A front yard fence request must be reviewed and approved by the Architectural Review Committee for those properties outside of subdivisions or zoned RA. The Architectural Review Committee is an internal review committee made of representatives from various departments, such as Planning and Zoning, the Department of Transportation Department, Building Department, and potentially the SPLOST Department where needed. The request before you is to allow a front yard fence for properties within subdivisions provided that specific provisions are met. A fence must be decorative in nature. Justification or hardship is provided with the request. Property does not gain access from the internal platted subdivision street, and the request is reviewed by that architecture review committee. In this particular instance, this property, the applicant lives within the Spivey Chase subdivision, all of it which is zoned R1 single-family residence. Now, this is more common in older subdivisions, but the Spivey Chase subdivision, for example, has subdivisions that take access on an arterial road, not access from the internal subdivision street. Those lots are outlined in red there. This amendment would allow for these lots taking access from Jericho Road to request for a front yard fence. Staff has evaluated the request, and we do recommend approval of the applicant's request to amend Section 70204 of the ULDC with the addition of this one sentence in red. Lots that do not gain access from the platted internal subdivision street may submit a request for a decorative front yard fence. It goes on to say the request will be evaluated by that architecture review committee. Thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have questions for staff? Okay. If not, we'd like the applicant to come forward, please. Sir, please state your name and address for the record, and
I'm Terry Lynn Woodall at 4172 Jodico Road, Stockbridge, Georgia.
okay. And do you have anything to add to staff recommendation?
Do I have anything to add? This is my husband, Gadsden Woodall.
We have some landscape plans we'd like to share with the board, as well as, I had a picture of the proposed fence, but I've got the picture of the actual partially built fence that we started. But we would like to share this plan with you guys of our property and what we plan
Okay, I
to do.
think Kim too can.
Okay. This shows the property that our family has had for a little over 40 years at the corner of Jodico Road and Oak Leaf Drive. When the house was built back in the 80s, there was not much out there. Since then, I think we've all seen what's happened. We've got a fire department less than a half a mile from our front door. The sirens and the traffic are horrendous all hours of the day and night. We would like to create a landscape buffer as well as a fence that would enhance the property and our quiet enjoyment of our home. The security has become an issue here lately, where we've had people showing up at 3:30 in the morning and had to call Henry County out to escort them off the property while they tried to throw my wife out of the car, literally right dead in front of our house. So the request is that we be allowed to finish our fence that would run along in front of Jodico and the side of Oak Leaf Drive, and down between the two properties, between Joshua Allen, he's our next door neighbor, but we've got good neighbors all around us. We know of them, all of them personally, and none of them have an issue with us having a fence.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add, sir?
I've got copies of these plans if y'all would like one, and the survey that shows our property.
Okay. Well, you can bring them forward if you like.
Yes.
This is it. That's the picture. Fence. That.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add, sir?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
I do.
Okay.
You're in subdivision, so has this been run by the HOA and has any approvals there, or you just?
We don't have an HOA, never have. It's just part of Spivey Chase subdivision. But there is
Okay.
no active HOA, never has been.
Thank you.
And Mr. Richard?
Okay, have you had a chance to read the amendment that the staff has prepared, and if it satisfied, I guess if it satisfies what you're trying to accomplish?
Yes, sir, we have. That's exactly, I think, the intent of his recommendation.
Okay, and of course, this, if it's adopted, this would apply to other properties countywide.
Yes, that is correct. With assuming that the Board of Commissioners approves this request, it would be an act for countywide. So other properties within subdivisions not taking access from the internal street, they would have that ability to request for that front yard fence.
Okay, and I assume that this was advertised in the paper. Have you had any feedback or any reaction from citizens?
We have not received any calls on the matter, to the best of my opinion, best of my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Yes, Ms. Walker?
Gate in the front, or, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, how is it gonna lock? Is it a gate that automatically rolls up, you open the door, or what?
Yes, ma'am.
Any additional questions? I have one. Now, I noticed this is a nice looking fence, and it appears to be more of a privacy fence. Now, staff, I guess this question is for staff, does this meet the guidelines of the new requirements?
I can't speak for the fence and the details of the fence alone. This request is more so just to allow that flexibility in allowing for front yard fences. After this process, the Architecture Review Committee will still have to review the fence. With that, we look at materials, colors, types, and the overall design for the fence.
Okay.
We'll also look at the distance from the fence to the right-of-way, make sure that sight lines are being met.
Okay. And sir, you are aware of that this may or may not meet the requirements of the architectural review?
Yes, yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Any additional questions? Mr. Richard?
Okay, now the next step beyond this, it still would go before the county commissioners for final adoption, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Any further questions? If not, you may be seated, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we would like to allow 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Ten minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'd also like to allow 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay, does the board have additional questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, call the case, please.
ULDC AM 2401, an ordinance by Terry Lynn Woodall of Stockbridge, Georgia, to amend Chapter 7 of the Unified Land Development Code of the Henry County Code of Ordinance regarding the regulation of front yard fences countywide, presented by Kinsa Lanham, Planner 3.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Richard. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Call the next case, please.
RZ 2321, Tony Perkins of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a rezoning from R1 Single Family Residence to RA Residential Agricultural for property located at 1455 Highway 138 East in Land Lot 94 of the 11th District. The property consists of 4.036 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a single-family dwelling. District 3, presented by Heidi Lyhut, Planner 1.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County.
Good evening.
The item before you is the property located at 1455 Highway 138 East. The request is to rezone the subject property from R1, Single Family Residence, to RA, Residential Agricultural, for the purpose of bringing the property into compliance with accessory structure and commercial vehicle storage standards. The subject property is shown in your exhibit books and on the overhead projection. This slide shows the aerial and future land use map. The subject property has a future land use map designation of low-density suburban. The current zoning is R1. This is the as-built survey submitted by the applicant. The subject property does have some zoning history. The property was rezoned as part of a larger request from RA to R1A on September 15, 1987, with one condition. As mentioned earlier, the request is to rezone the subject property from R1 to RA. The proposed rezoning request to RA will allow for compliancy of existing accessory structures and a commercial vehicle storage. The future land use map flume designation of the subject property is low-density suburban, which would support the request to RA. Currently, the applicant has an accessory structure in the side yard, which is an enclosed metal building where the square footage is 1541 square feet, exceeding the maximum size of an accessory structure in the R1 zoning district. Article 5, Section 3-16-55 of the Henry County Code of Ordinances permits the parking and storage of commercial vehicles in the RA zone property outside of a platted subdivision over 2 acres in size. The applicant currently stores a semi-truck with a chassis. Rezoning the subject property will bring it into compliance. This is a side photo that is facing the subject property. The applicant has taken steps to comply with the commercial vehicle parking ordinance, which includes the proper screening. Staff recommends approval of the applicant's request from R1 to RA with the following conditions on the slide. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have questions for staff? Okay. If not, the applicant come forward, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Richard?
No, I'll wait till the applicant comes up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Tony Perkins, 1455 Highway 138 East, Stockbridge.
Okay. You have anything you'd like to add to staff recommendation?
No, sir.
Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant? Mr. Richard?
What type of vehicle is this? Is it a commercial truck or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I thought that somewhere in here that there was going to be an accessory structure. Is that?
It's there. It was in the photo.
Oh, okay, so it's already there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the driveway, that's already there
Yes, sir.
also? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, if not, you may be seated, sir. Okay. We would like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. No one's coming forward. We'd also like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay. And I said 10 minutes. I believe this is an associated case. We actually like to allot 20 minutes.
This is actually just a single rezone.
Single rezone.
It's a list associated.
I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, if no one's coming forward, staff, do you have any additional questions for the applicant or staff? If not, call the case, please.
RZ 2321, Tony Perkins of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a rezoning from R1 Single Family Residence to RA Residential Agricultural for property located at 1455 Highway 138 East in Land Lot 94 of the 11th District. The property consists of 4.036 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a single-family dwelling. District 3, presented by Heidi Lyhud, Planner 1.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion? Mr. Richard?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the applicant's request with the two conditions that are recommended by the staff in their report.
Have a motion. Do we have a second? Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. All right. Call the next case, please.
CU 2304, Bethel Community Haitian of McDonough, Georgia, requests a conditional use for property located at 203 Nail Drive and Land Lot 192 of the 7th District. The property consists of 3.19 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a religious facility. District 5, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1, and VR 2319, Bethel Community Haitian of McDonough, Georgia, requests a variance for property located at 203 Nail Drive and Land Lot 192 of the 7th District. The property consists of 3.19 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from the supplemental standards for religious facilities. District 5, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County. The request before you is for property located at 203 Nail Drive. The property is currently zoned RA Residential Agricultural. Here is the current aerial and zoning map of the property with the subject property outlined and etched in green. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow a religious facility to be located at the subject property. The Henry County Unified Land Development Code permits religious facilities within any residential zoning district subject to the approval of a conditional use and compliance with the standards in Chapter 4, Section 4.03.14E of the ULDC. In addition to the conditional use request, the applicant is also requesting a concurrent variance request to reduce the side yard setback requirement for the primary structure and accessory structures located on the property. Chapter 4, Section 3.14E of the ULDC requires the minimum setback requirement of 50 feet from all property lines for all structures. The property is currently being used as a single-family residence and is approximately 3.30 plus or minus acres. There are 8 existing structures on the property, 1 single-family residence and 7 accessory structures, according to the surveys submitted by the applicant dated August 23, 2023. The applicant plans to renovate the existing primary structure for the proposed use and has not yet expressed any plans for the accessory structures on the property at this time. Additionally, the applicant had a due diligence meeting with county staff and was informed of the necessary requirements needed to improve the property for the proposed use of a religious facility. After evaluating the request, staff recommends approval of the conditional use request to have a religious facility at the subject property, as well as approve the applicant's variance request to reduce the side yard setback requirement with the conditions listed on the screen. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
I have a question. Do we know what material, building material is going to be utilized for this facility?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Okay. Any additional questions for staff? If not, we'd like the applicant to come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
It's a Better Community Haitian SDA Church, 203 Nell Drive, McDonough, Georgia, 20253.
Okay. Sir, would you like to add to any of staff?
No.
Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? Okay. If not, sir, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, we'd like to allot 20 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. No one's coming forward. We'd also like to allot 20 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant or staff? No. Mr. For staff or the applicant?
For staff.
Okay.
In the guidelines that you have for what they need to improve, does that include parking?
Yes, the property will have to include parking.
Thank you.
Okay. I have one other question, and does this fall within any overlay districts at all?
No, this property does not.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions?
Yes, I do have a question. What's the distance for the setback that they're seeking here?
It's 50 feet.
It is 50 feet?
The setback requirements?
That they're seeking, I thought they were seeking a modification. I thought they were seeking something that was less than 50 feet.
Oh, yes, they're requesting 42.1 feet for the primary structure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, if no further questions, call the case, please.
CU 2304, Bethel Community Haitian of McDonough, Georgia, requests a conditional use for property located at 203 Nail Drive and Land Lot 192 of the 7th District. The property consists of 3.19 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a religious facility. District 5, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1, and VR, I'm sorry.
We'll need to make the motion for the conditional use first.
And you agreeing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion for CU 2304?
Yes. I make a motion to approve CU 2304.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mrs. Walker. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Call next case, please.
VR 2319, Bethel Community Haitian of McDonough, Georgia, requests a variance for property located at 203 Nail Drive and Land Lot 192 of the 7th District. The property consists of 3.19 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from the supplemental standards for religious facilities. District 5, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve VR 2319.
Do we have a second? We have a second by Mrs. Walker. All in favor? Motion carries, unanimous. Okay. I believe that concludes our cases for tonight. I have a motion to adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you.
I like these 15-minute meetings.